So the topic generally is there's numbers, colors, time and space. They're all related. If we think about everything in the universe now is described with math. Is that right? Einstein describes time with math.
Yes.
He describes space with math. We describe everything, waves with math. So math, we can say, is both universal and the foundation of everything in our existence, right? So when we talk about something metaphysical or something that is not material but spiritual, math probably is connected to that too.
Sure.
So, for example, numbers. In Arabic or in the Islamic tradition, we have Abjad, which is numbers and letters, the relationship between numbers and letters and what they mean. In English, we have similar. We have numbers and letters, colors. So, for example, my birthday in the Western calendar is March 4th. So you might say, I am a 4, huh? My birthday in the Islamic calendar is the 22nd, okay? Which is also, if you do 2 plus 2, is still a 4. If you just check the numbers in your life, your birthday, your driver's license number, add the numbers and see what the number is, you'll see that there are lots of repeated numbers in your life. And so the metaphysicists say that this is connected, especially your birth date. So the day you were born is a very important number in your whole life. So mine is 4.
Yeah, but the calendar is what we make.
No, but it's based on what? What's the calendar? Every calendar is based on what?
It's solar or lunar.
It's solar or lunar, so it is higher than we are. It is something older than we are.
Yeah, but the lunar year starts from the time that we point.
Yes, but it has a rotation. It's not random. It's not like I'm going to start the month here. We have a new moon, half moon,
You mean
full
the
moon.
frequencies are the
The frequencies, yes, you see, it's about math. The frequencies are repeated, the waves are repeated, so the numbers are repeated, the cycles are repeated. And as human beings, we look at whatever, the sun, the moon, and we look for cycles, we look for repetition, we look for waves, we look for patterns. And from these patterns, we say that our life is influenced. So the basis of Abjad, the basis of Western numerology, is all astrological or metaphysical.
Okay, then what?
So each number has a meaning or a vibration, like each color. Every color in the world has a vibration. We create colors by creating vibrations, right?
Yeah, the frequency of
Yes.
light.
So each number has a vibration, and that vibration has a meaning in a life. So for example, like a 4 and 8. In Chinese astrology, 8 is considered lucky or
Yes, right.
preferred. It's because it's
And
a
4 is
number.
bad.
4 is bad.
Yeah.
Why is 4 bad and 8 good? They're related because they're both numbers of fate or destiny. They're heavy numbers.
Yeah.
Means you have a duty or you have
But
something.
In Chinese, the word for 4 is si. It's same as death. That is si. That's
Okay.
something in Chinese culture also.
But that, could be accidental, it could be, metaphysical. But the point is 4 and 8 are both numbers of destiny or karma, like heavy numbers, heavy responsibility. What's your birthday? Just curious, for example.
Yeah, like in
Persian calendar.
Persian calendar, it's 3. Like I'm
3.
Yeah.
3 is the number of creativity or manifestation, right? You say, okay, in order to create something, you have to have the idea, right? You have to have the projection of the idea, and then you have to have the materialization of the idea. So 3 is the basis for all things created, all creativity. Like the number 19. 19 is a Quranic number. It's a very powerful number
Yes.
because it has 1 and 9. It covers all the digits, 1 through 9.
Okay.
And it's considered what you might call uncorruptible. It's a perfect number. It's a
Yes.
divine number, right?
Yes, that's right.
So The say mirror to that number is 10. 10 also 1 0. It's a range, but 10 is corruptible. It's not a perfect number. So we can say that 10
Can be divided into 2 and 5.
okay,
Yeah.
can be divided or it's corruptible, while 19 is not corruptible.
That's right.
So every number, you know, up to whatever.
What you say is in decimal system.
Really?
So just decimal system is going to be the basic system, because now in computer science is using hexadecimal system or binary system also.
Okay.
What you say is based on decimal system. So does it change things?
I wouldn't think so. Like I said, math is a universal. So what you see in math, whether it's expressed in computers or expressed in metaphysics or Einstein's theory of relativity or any of these things, are all going to be universal concepts. You have 7 levels. 7 levels of heaven. Seven is a holy number, a mystical number. Again, it's a prime number too, so it's not divisible like evenly. We mentioned 19.
Yeah, but 13 is also same, but it's called as a devilish number. How it
Because
comes like
1 plus 3 is what?
that is 4.
4 and 8 are numbers of power, but numbers of destiny, of fate, heavy numbers. So 13 is 1 plus 3, which is a 4. So it goes back to, you have to add the digits. If it's a double-digit number, you have to add them.
But 4 is not that famous to be like a bad number.
Negative, yeah. Yeah, but it is, they say, karmic number. Hindus say it's karmic or destiny, meaning you might have a heavy responsibility or a light responsibility, but you have a responsibility, like a heavier life duty, if you're a 4 or an 8.
Okay, so how it comes after the usage of this in the modern world, how it can be?
Most people don't, I mean, these are all old sciences, old wisdoms. I mean, if you go on the internet, on the computer, you can find Abjad, and you can find the what they call heavenly numbers and then the ordinary numbers. And you can translate your name, for example, to your number. And probably your number of your name will relate to the number of your birth, probably. Like I said, the numbers tend to come in systems. You know, maybe your mother's number is related to your number or your father's number. So you can work out your own personal connections to how you relate to the universe as a whole.
How about the numbers of the positions? I mean, the positions on the earth. Does this numbers of the positions,
Yeah, because
the
I
angles
mean,
have any meaning?
Einstein and the whole, you know, quantum theory especially talks about time and space.
Right,
And time and space is expressed in math, right?
that's right.
So you can't say time is separate from space or space is separate from time. So ley lines on the planet, ley lines are considered, say, more powerful vibrations. You know, a faster vibration, a higher vibration, and higher vibration means a better connection to the higher realms.
Yeah, let's start from points. After we will reach the lines. About the points, what you think? Is there any special points on the earth that
Pyramids.
are different rather than the others?
Yeah, I mean, if we look at
The
it's
locations,
ancient sites, because the ancients, the older peoples, modern people have substituted or replaced wisdom with memorization. So, you know, maybe you know all about decimal system and hexagon, you know, but that's a substitution for wisdom, which the numbers actually contained. And older civilizations actually knew what they were doing. So when they built a temple, when they built a pyramid, when they built, you know, whatever.
What do you think, how they know that?
Because
how
of,
they find it out?
if you walk into a room and there's a high-pitched tuning fork, like say there's a piano teacher teaching piano, and she's tuning the piano, or she has a piano being tuned, and you walk in the middle, the guy has his tuning fork and he's struck it. When you walk into that room, do you hear it? Yeah, right? I mean, maybe it bothers you or whatever, but if you're very sensitive, I mean, I've walked into some tuning sessions where my whole body, my whole spine just reacts, you know, goes like this because the pitch is so high or it's so. So there are priests and priestly classes.
Those are waves of sound. That is
Waves
made
of sound are what though?
physically. made by this tuning.
But waves of sound are what? What did we establish before? Waves of sound are math. Waves of sound can be represented by numbers.
Yeah.
Colors are waves of length, right?
Yeah, but how could ancient people find out?
Because
Right.
priests, priestly class, people who are very, Rohani, what do you say? Holy, spiritual, or
Spiritual,
attuned. They are sensitive to these waves. So if they walk into a place, it's just like me walking into a room that the tuning fork is vibrating. For me, I need to hear it, I need to see it, I need all my senses engaged. But for a very spiritual person or a very holy person, they feel it as intensely as I do, and they hear it as intensely as I do, but they hear it with the tune of their spirit rather than their ears. So their spirit or their soul becomes a kind of faculty of perception.
Yeah, so you mean out of our five senses there are something else to feel such thing?
There's two things. There's the spirit, which is a sense, and there is the unification of the five senses. We have something in the music, it's called synaesthesia. Have you heard of it?
No.
Synaesthesia is a condition where a musician or someone who's very musically gifted actually hears notes but sees color or perceives color. So the synaesthete will hear the note C, but they will perceive the color yellow, or hear the note G and perceive the color green.
Yeah, that's the translation of brain on that.
Yes, it's the brain unifying two senses and saying, and not distinguishing between oral or your hearing and your eyes. It's a brain condition. So we can say that, say, the priestly class or the more spiritual class of people could unify their senses, unify their hearing, their seeing, unify their perceptions, and therefore create a higher awareness. What do they do? I mean, what do you think somebody like Einstein did? Einstein, you can say he's a genius, or you can describe him in different ways, but he's really using faculties of his mind, unifications of his perceptions that you and I don't know how to use. And as a result, he was able to understand math in a different way, to see math in a different way. So the same way ancient peoples and civilizations who had a priestly class, who had holy people, were able to find locations and perceive the specialness of these particular locations in a way that, say, I couldn't do.
What is the source of that? That they get something, but is there any source for that they are receiving?
Well, if you have faith, obviously the source is God. You know, in Islam you have the whole concept of unity of being.
Right.
The whole concept of unity of being is this thing that everything in your world, everything in your being is one thing, is unified.
That's right.
As soon as you start dividing yourself, dividing God, dividing everything, you have problem. When you divide your hearing from your eyes from your everything, you start to have problem. Then your world becomes pieces and not accurate, not true.
Yes, that was my another question about accuracy. That feeling usually cannot be that accurate to be a plan of, for example, architecture of something like what they made in ancient world for the buildings, for example. If it was not absolutely accurate, it wouldn't last so long.
Yeah,
so
but you're making a lot of assumptions that, what you're saying contains a lot of assumptions. Feeling is not accurate. Feeling is something else. Imam Ghazali, he in his Alchemy of Happiness, he sets out and he says, look, I looked at my senses and I found out I could trick my senses. My senses weren't accurate. Then I went to the ilm, to the philosophy, sociology, because those are not subject, those are objective. But then I found out I can trick my mind too, I can trick my intellect. So he says, I can't trust my senses, I can't trust my intellect, and finally he came to the basic point, I can't trust anything. It's all, I can trick everything. All of my perceptions, my intellect, my knowledge can be tricked, can be twisted, can be projected inaccurately. So, you know,
Nothing is absolute. Yeah.
nothing is absolute except what? There is a way that your own experience. In Islam, we also talk about yaqeen, right? We talk about ilm yaqeen, which is like reading, just reading something, and
Completion of belief, can call it like this.
that's haqqul yaqeen. But then there's, you know, ain, like seeing.
The eyes to see the
Yeah,
completion.
but then
of-
there's an experience, right? And
Yeah.
there's a great example. It says, if someone tells you, oh, over there's a fire, that's ilm. That's someone telling you something.
Yeah.
So maybe you like the person, you believe him, maybe you don't. It's the worst kind of certainty. Then ain, like you say, okay, I'm going to go see. So you walk over there and you see the fire and you go, okay, there's a fire. Okay, so that's ain. You see it, huh?
That's right.
But then stick your hand into the fire. Then you have the experience of the fire. And that is unmistakable. So if you want to talk about what's certain, certain is you have to be in the fire. Whatever you are. When I walk into a room and I hear the tuning fork and it's making my head vibrate and it's making my spine tingle and my legs are cramping, okay? I have an experience of certainty that this is this is bothering me, huh?
Yeah.
This is an absolute experience of my whole body, of all of my senses. In the same way that priests, holy people, very knowledgeable men of the spirit and the multi-dimensions of life, they know. So, and you know, people come to either trust them or not trust them. So they go into a place, they say, this is holy, this is a divine place, this has a better vibration, this has the right vibration, this has the right...
Yeah, but about your fire example, that's the sight sense and the feeling of heat, that's another sense out of the five senses. So you say one is perfect, one is not. Both of them are out of our five senses to feel heat or to see fire. Don't you think?
But one of them consumes you. If you've ever been burned, you know that you don't just feel it where you're burned. And you don't just feel it while you're being burned. You feel it after you're burned. You feel it for days, weeks, depending on how bad. It's not just you see something, it's
so
gone.
The effects are also important?
The effects are lasting. The effects are unmistakable and not transient.
Yeah, let's go back to the sources. You said mentioned just one source as the metaphysical or whatever is not related to the material is made from God. But some people say that, for example, for some bad people that are using the bad mental power, and like we have many of these examples in the world, where that comes from? Is it also from God?
Well, I mean, in Islam we have everything comes from God. There is nothing, not
but
from
there are
God.
some delegations in some cases.
There are ranks
Yes.
of things. So yes, of course, all of these things can be used. Just like you can make, in the music example, you can make very beautiful music that you love, or you can make very ugly music so that after 10 minutes you just want it to shut up, huh?
Yeah, that's about my taste of music. But good is good, bad is bad. I'm talking about
Absolutes.
like something spiritually good or spiritually bad. What you think can be the sources of bad spiritual issues?
Bad is always the motive or the urge is human. I mean, at the end of the day, human beings decide how to use something. They use, fire is good. It cooks things, it, warms you in the winter. But if you go and you burn your neighbor's house down, is the fire bad, or is it you that burnt your neighbor's house down? You have to distinguish between the tool and the user of the tool. So in that sense, human beings are users of tools.
Yeah. So you mean that's all in humans' hand? There is nothing metaphysically bad over humans' rank?
There is nothing metaphysically bad about the tool. I mean, fire is
No,
not.
my meaning is about like creatures, they are called as devils, for example.
Jinn.
Yeah, or jinn. They are separated. I don't mean. I mean, so, individually, each of them. What you think about those? Can those things be sources of bad energy, bad power, bad spiritualism?
Sources of bad inspiration, yes. Yes, of course. But again, human beings are the vicegerents or the palian, like they have
sub-level of this or controlling this.
they can control me. They have the power to distinguish between the good and evil and how to act, or if the tool is being used as good or evil. So they can be influenced, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
What is
talking.
the philosophy of this partnership between human and evil in bad way? What do you think about this? The philosophy of this?
The partnership.
Yeah, the partnership between bad humans and evils.
God takes precedence over all actions, human
Sure.
or jinn or good energy or bad energy. So there is I don't say it's not predestined, but there is a rule in the world. So on the outside or superficially, it may look like that things are going bad or evil is ruling, but in reality, that's not the case.
Yeah, what we see, like for example, in 20th century comparing to 19th century, and can see 21st century about the corruptions in the world, and for example about the drugs and about human trafficking and about much more bad things that are going to be more popular. And you don't think that today's world is going to be worse day by day?
The worsening of the situation. It's not really possible to look at something from our small lifespans, 70 years, 80 years, 100 years, and decide or judge the good, relative good or bad. I mean, sure, I can see the 19th century was better, more innocent than the 20th century. The 21st century is shaping up to be pretty ugly. But, these things, the universe in general works towards extremes. So if someone has been very, very mean to me, very, say, horrible, let's say I was a child, and say as a child I was hungry, poor, abused, mistreated, and then I become an adult and I get married and I have a really nice husband and I have kindness and I have generosity in my life.
Yeah, but that's your personal life. I mean about the human beings.
Human beings are simply smaller versions of existence. Everything is contained in the human being, in the human experience. So the way, if I'm that person, the way I experience the bad and the good comes to a balance. So maybe if I just looked, let's say as an individual, if I just looked at my childhood, I would say, oh, the world is an evil place, it's a harsh place, it's a terrible place. Then if I looked at my adulthood, I would say, oh, the world is a beautiful place, it's a kind place, it's a generous place. As a child, I might say, the devil rules everything. As an adult, I might say, oh, God rules everything. But what's the reality? The reality is that as a person, I am a product of both extremes. And in fact, because of these two extremes, you might even say I'm more complete.
Okay, so personally, you don't think that the humans' society is
Degenerating?
Yeah, it's going to be worse.
No, I think human beings evolve. I think everything evolves. Spiritually, practically.
Okay, our program is about the sacred societies, and there are many things told about them that they use the metaphysical science. What do you think about this?
Well, yeah, certainly I think so. I mean, it's like anything. Human beings are kids. If you've ever had kids, the most exciting time for a kid is you bring a new toy home. You bring a toy, if it's a little boy and you bring a truck, he gets all excited, he starts playing with the truck, right? Human beings are like kids, and these things are like toys. So they figure them out, or they get them, they get very excited, and they start using them. And, your child might even break the truck, or might even break some of the furniture playing with the truck. because, for him it's playing, it's a game.
Yeah, but why as a conspiracy? Why underground? Why hidden? Why behind the curtain?
Because man is noble, because human beings have a connection with the divine. They have an inspiration from God. They have a tendency to good, to beauty, to good action, right action, holiness. So of course, generally human beings are good and noble.
So they're shy for this, you think?
Of
Because
course.
of this they make it underground?
Of course, they're not going to say, it's the same as your kid, if you come home and you say, okay, who broke this? Your kid's going to go, I didn't do it, not me. He's not going to say, oh yeah, I did it. The natural human tendency is not confession and, owning up to things. It's hiding and lying and...
Okay, so they're not that bad. This is nature of human and...
To hide bad acts, to hide evil, yes. To want to be good, to want to be seen as good, to want to be known as doing good. This is the natural.
Yeah, how about their specific traditions or things related to metaphysics? Have you heard something about this, about how they have these experiences, metaphysically experiences, and how they could get power from that, or things that are normally not easy to find it out?
You hear rumors, you read things here and there, but no, I don't have any personal experience. I don't have any personal first-hand knowledge. I hear, and I understand the connection between, say, using color, which is a vibration, which is a mathematical, to influence the senses, or using these energies to influence. It makes sense to me because I know about these other things.
About the vortex points, you said that in ancient world people find it out, and you just said by feeling something. How we can access this information in the modern world?
Well, it's the same process. You have to find people who are sensitive, or people who have a predisposition to sensitivity for these.
Like the people in the Western time. In the last centuries in America, they find
waters. Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, they were called dowing. It was called dowing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I'm actually from a very rural area in the south of South United States, and even in my generation, which isn't that far back, my grandfather and my great-grandfather would talk about dowling. So, and it's not, for us it wasn't, this, metaphysical experience. It was a way to find, okay, look, think about it. You want to get water. If you you can dig a well anywhere. You can start digging, but a well is like 70 feet deep. Do you know how much energy and time it takes to dig 70 feet? And then you don't get water? So it's practical. At the end of the day, all of these things, whether we say they're metaphysical or not, they're practical for our life, for our existence.
Yeah, the bigger scale. What do you think? Some people say some other people are finding these places and are using it. There are such information.
Yeah,
on
of
internet
course,
also.
yeah.
So what you think about this? Do you have any particular, about some particular points, some idea where they are?
Yeah, they're the famous points, the Egyptian pyramids, the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem.
In the United States, there are some cities that after the Declaration of Independence in the United States, those cities were built, and those cities are on a line. And
ley lines.
Yeah, that's the ley line of America. What you think of that? And the continuation of that goes, beyond the Atlantic Ocean to the Stonehenge, and that makes it a little bit more complicated. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, if you've ever thought about the electricity in your house, for example, the electricity in your house isn't just one wire coming down from some center point, is it? It's one wire coming from maybe some point outside, and then it's feeding to a whole bunch of smaller wires in your entire house, right? That's how your electrical outlets work, that's how your lights work, that's how everything works. So ley lines are the same, but on a global scale. There's a central point or a central energy source and then it gets fed into smaller trajectories.
What is the type of that energy? Because energy in physics have some like specific meaning. Is this energy included in those
Yes.
kinds of energies that we know, like electrical energy or muscular energy or?
Well, I mean, not exactly. We talked about the perception of the soul, or the person who has more unified senses. You know, the person who perhaps sees color and hears notes, or hears notes and sees color. Of course, they're perceiving things in a different way that I can't necessarily understand because I haven't experienced it. So by the same token, a person who perceives something spiritually or with their soul will have, the energy is the same perhaps, but the perception, the receptor. So we have, you know, radios and radio waves, right? AM, FM, whatever.
Yeah.
So the transmitter is the same maybe, but the receptor is different. And when you change the receptor, you're not changing the energy, are you? You're just changing the way it's interpreted.
Yeah, I mean the type of energy in that way, it's waves, it's electromagnetical waves.
And these are waves too.
Yeah.
All waves.
Okay, so you mean this kind of energy is another wave with another frequency? Is it like can we find it out, the frequency and the details of this?
I think so. I mean, I think eventually we will. I don't think now we have. But I think we're closer. I mean, the whole periodic table in chemistry, right? What did they do? They set everything up and they saw a pattern and they said, oh, we have some numbers missing here, right? And then they said, okay, this one's missing. Let's go find this element, huh?
That's right.
And then they went and found it. So now we have a kind of spiritual or an energy periodic table. And we say, okay, we're missing this, this, and this. Let's go find it. And so that's, I think, the next frontier.
On these lines, ley lines, any particular point can be same as the other points, or even on these lines there are some specific points that are more or less energy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can't say all waves are the same. Within even the color red, you can't say all red waves are exactly the same, right?
Yeah,
There are
scope.
variation. They have scope, they have variation, they have intensities, variations, so no.
Okay, how about Kaaba in Mecca? Do you think that's also another vortex point? Because
Yeah.
recently they are really changing the type of architecture in Mecca city itself, and it looks like some symbols that are not related to Islam itself.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. There's ways to intensify and de-intensify energies, right?
Yes.
Turning up and turning down energies. So the circling of the Kaaba, the tradition of the circling of the Kaaba, and all of these people every year performing the pilgrimage and the circling is going to intensify the energy of the place. Maybe if you change the architecture, you change the angles, you change the way the energy is captured and transmitted, of course you might decrease the energy flow.
Yeah, how about the type of architecture, for example, obelisk or pyramid, that are very common in some ways for ancient world, and also symbols for secret societies such as Freemasons. Do you think that these shapes have any effect to this
Yeah,
story?
of course. Like I said, we understand things separately, but color, numbers, space,
Yeah,
time,
I mean,
mass.
these stones, this shapes of this is effective to this?
Is it if you have
That's just only symbol? That's my
if you
question.
put water in a bowl, or
Good
you
shape,
put
like-
water in a square, and you do this to it, it's going to do different things. It's going to swirl if it's in a round thing. It might just settle quickly if it's in a square thing. So of course,
So
shapes.
it's not only symbols, this have some function.
Yes, function. Yes.
Okay. My last question is about Jerusalem, and about like this place that in all history there was many wars and that, and it's still going on, this war, and particularly about this point, Masjid al-Aqsa, that is a very important point for all religions. And of course you heard that there are plans for like destroying that and building the Temple of Solomon instead of that. What do you think about this point? Is it ultra powerful vortex point that is such important?
Well, yeah, I mean, oral traditions usually have some reality attached to them. They usually have some reality. Like I said, anything that comes down to us from an ancient time or an ancient people or an ancient system, if you dig deep enough, you start to understand there was a reason for it. In the Native American tradition, we have something called sweat lodges and vision quests. This was when a young man became of age, became a man, he would be allowed to go on a vision quest. And this was a kind of search for himself. So he would go into the sweat lodge, which was really, really hot, no water, no food for like 2 or 3 days, and, very conducive to hallucinations, to whatever, mystical states, mystical experiences. Okay, so now, in modern times, we have these things called, purgings or cleansing, body cleansing. Even in Islam, they say that let's say you make some money, and the money is haram, and then you buy food with this money, and you eat this food, and it goes into your body. The only way to clear this is to take a fast and clear this material from your body, cleanse it, and then you're free from the initial haram event, right?
Yes.
So if you think about even just that little piece of information connected with the idea of the sweat lodge, connected with the idea of achieving a higher mystical station, there's some reality to it. So of course, in Jerusalem, you look at this point and you say, okay, it comes down from all of our religious traditions. Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Of course, there must be something to it. There must be something powerful to this site. Something holy, something divine, something much different than other points, other sites.
Yeah, that's the place that is said that Muhammad the Prophet has gone to the sky from that point.
The ascension.
That's said in Quran. And they're not same place, but in same city.
In the same city, yeah.
Yeah, you think that even in a city can be different spots
points, yeah, sure.
with different functionalities?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so land is not same in anywhere in the world, because how people say why Jewish people come back to Israel, why not to Africa?
Yeah, why not just substitute?
Yeah, so any land has its own meaning.
Yeah, I mean, every prophet has his own meaning.
Yeah.
You can't, substitute,
No,
Jesus with the prophet.
I'm
it's the same
about
thing.
Land, and I want to connect
Land,
it to the
people.
nationalism. So in this field, do you think that nationalism have another meaning by the potential energy of that land that could, describe this nationalism in a new way?
Oh, you're saying that nationalism has a more higher force.
Yeah.
It's not just
not only feeling the motherland and just what you like or what you miss.
Yeah, there may be an
nostalgic.
actual spiritual energy connection to the land itself.
Yeah, what do you think about this?
That's an interesting theory, and yes, very well could be.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
If you want to add something too.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
خوشحال شدم.
خیلی ممنون.